Good day, everyone, and welcome to the journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today, listen, y'all got special today. Today, I got my friend and church boy, because we was in church together as kids, Mr. Chris Bass. How are you doing this morning, Chris?
Man, not too shabby. How you doing, Reverend Bobby?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine. I had gone out among the people and was a little bit feeling something. And one of my girls reminded me, she's a nurse. She said, "There's a lot of stuff rolling around." I said, "I kept touching my mask. I didn't put it on." She said, "Next time, put it on." But I
Yeah.
feel fine. So in your world of Chris Bass that's just so big and wonderful, give the people a little snippet on Mr. Chris Bass and how wonderful he is.
Oh man, thank you. I looked over both shoulders, find out who you're talking about.
I know I do that too sometimes, but it's
I
you.
know, right? Okay, just you have to pinch myself to make sure I got the right person. So I've been in doing radio broadcasting now and social media for 30 years. Um, One of those situations where you always hear people born to do something. I think I was always born to do communication in some way, shape, or form. To be on radio first and then to go on to social media was a natural fit for people like myself and the rest of us because it's still communication.
Right.
And the fact that, to me, I've always told my students when I taught at Columbia College, but also my alma mater, went back to teach there. And even when I taught
Columbia.
Columbia College Chicago, yeah, I went there in the late 80s. Got a chance to meet some very great instructors. It's different when you have an instructor that really cares about you. And you're not just a name, and you're not just a person to give a grade to. Excuse me. That was the reason why
And
I
one
liked
thing
about that.
about them too was a lot of people was in the business.
Yeah, it was rare because it's not like certain colleges and universities where the instructor, no offense to the professors, they've been out of the business where they're teaching like say 20, 25 years. At Columbia, they were currently in the field.
Yeah.
And that gave you a really bird's eye view and hands-on of what was going on currently in broadcasting for me in radio. So it was just fantastic. I remember at one point, for people in Chicago, remember Tom Skilling, the great meteorologist from Channel 9. He taught at Columbia when I was there. His class stayed booked for meteorology. I was there. I couldn't even get in. And I tried. At one point, I was working registration, and we get in our classes early, and still couldn't get into math class. So my point is, and people like the late great Harold Lee Rush, who became a great friend and mentor to me. At the time, he was working at WGCI. He was producing the Doug Banks Morning Show, and went on to have, of course, his own career in broadcasting post that. And for radio, and not knocking it now, but for me, radio in the 80s and 90s was a golden era for a lot of us, watching other people that were doing it ahead of us, giving us inspiration. So by the time we came along for the next hand the baton to somebody else, we were already set. It was a beautiful time, and that always inspired me. And so when you look at, for me, talk radio became it because everybody wanted to be Doug Banks. Everybody wanted to be Tom Jordan at one point back in the day.
TJ, the fly jock.
The fly jock, right. But then for me at 19...
WJPC.
Oh, man. And GCI. And went on from there and did a national syndicated show for ABC Radio Networks and beyond. For me, at 19, I got up, turned on the radio, and heard a man named Ty Wansley. And Ty Wansley was a brilliant talk show host, news anchor, host, everything. And he just did it all. Now, I'm listening to this talk show that I just happened to randomly select. It was on then WGCI AM 1390. He was doing mornings. I was like, damn, how in the hell somebody could talk for 4 hours? That amazed me at 19 years old. Because I'm thinking about records and stop sets and breaks. But to talk for a whole 4-hour program, that amazed me. So that changed the trajectory shift. Me stopping want to do music and want to go into talk radio. And so
wait a minute, right here.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Sure.
How much of a challenge was it for you to shift, or was it like oh wow, if I take this direction, This is it for me.
It was the latter.
Yeah.
It was the latter. I was like, oh man, this is me. I guided you because I wanted to be Ty Wansley. It's like an epiphany. Nobody could tell me anything different. That's what I wanted to be. So I studied the man, got a chance to meet him, and over the years we became great friends. He was my Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's how close we became. And when you meet your mentors in your life, and they happen to be cool people, don't get me wrong, you can admire somebody. Sometimes you meet them in real life, it was like, well, I shouldn't have met that person in the first place because they just nasty. But in this situation, it was the exact opposite. I wish he was still around. He's no longer with us, but I wish Ty was still around. So I would tell him about I love him and thanking him tremendously for really changing my whole life.
Well, I can see how much that mentorship meant to you. And it is a good thing for people to have. I was out in LA with my son the last time. They got a couple awards for their film at Essence. He and his wife.
Cool. Congratulations, man.
And so, he did all the stuff at the church and everything. And I looked at him and I said, so when are you going to teach? Start teaching. He looked at me and he said, Dad, I never thought about it. He's, 33, 34.
Mm-hmm.
Genius. I have a hard time calling him that because he's my son, but he is. And I said, but when are you going to start to teach? Because the mentorship is just invaluable, isn't it?
It is. It is. When you meet someone who's already gone through the road you're about to travel, and he or she can definitely test the terrain because they've been there already. Mm-hmm. They test the words because they come on the other side. And when they put their arm around you and say, you know what, I'm going to help you so you won't have too many bumps and bruises in this road of profession, whatever profession is, that goes a long way. That makes it easier for someone like myself and down the road. And when you become Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's your turn to be the mentor, that's a whole different, conversation. But it's wonderful because now you literally know you went from student to now you're the master. And that always blew my mind when people said, I admire what you do. Like we said earlier, I look over both shoulders. I know you're talking about me, but again, without looking at people like Ty, I know people looking at me behind me. So again, it's just not everybody can be this way. I'm not saying elitist here, but you have to want to give back. You have to want to pay it forward.
Here's the thing that you said, and I was going to ask you this. How does it feel now that here you are, the elder, the keeper of the truth, the information bank, the example? How does that make you feel as you look back and say, how did this happen?
It's the journey well traveled. I take the mantle. I take responsibility for it because, again, the people that came before me was beautiful. One of my good friends is Bonnie DeShawn, who, of course, worked in radio, worked at WGCI and B103 down the road. And I never forget, we were doing the show, and I was also a good friend of mine, Lisa E., a great producer. We were talking about, because we came up at the same time out of Columbia.
Right.
And we were saying we got to WGCI just to walk into the building because it was a great time to be there. And never forget, Bonnie said, the reason why we welcomed you in is because you were kindred spirits. And that's heavy on my mind for a while because that's deep. Because you just can't let everybody in. They have to have something within them to contribute, something you see in them that you can grow and manifest. And so that takes time. Not everybody can do that, but not everybody can be in a position to put their arm around you and say, let me show you the way, let me help guide you. It really is a blessing.
So as you've been blessed the whole way, has it been some of them bumps and stuff along the way that you had to overcome? And I'm being facetious here. But how did you, what did you pull up? The gumption stuff that sometimes I see people don't have anymore. How did you do that? How did you face those challenges, Chris?
Well, just being a black man born, you already got challenges from day one, A1. So that comes with the territory. And then to go into a profession like talk radio, which still continues to be dominated by white conservative males and plays to a white conservative audience, and I'm not either. I'm
What? I got to clean my glasses. Hold on. Who am I talking
yeah,
to?
this ain't no suntan, Doc. It's one of those things where you have to press her on. I want it so bad, and you can't take the dream away from me if I want this so bad. So once again, at 19 on, I wanted to be a talk radio host. I wanted to earn it. I don't want nobody to give it to me. I want to go through the ranks of in radio to go from a board op, which runs control board, and a producer that produces content, and eventually elevate to where I am now. And so to me, those levels, I would appreciate it. I want nobody to hand it to me. I always want to work for it, and I did. And I got in a situation where you have to fight because off the bat, people are going to player hate. They're going to discriminate. They're going to go back and tell management that you ain't this and you ain't that. But you have to tap into a higher power. And I've always prayed. It took me a while to realize that, look, you can do this by yourself. You need some sort of help, and the spirituality of help that I had come from really put me on the course, because for me, regardless of where I worked at or regardless of some people who are player hating, you can't stop me. No matter how many times I've heard it, you can't stop me. In fact, that fuels me to continue going. And so did I get along with everybody in my life? No, of course not professionally. Did I get along with management? The majority of the time, no, because I'm not a butt kisser. And when they see us not a butt kisser, all of a sudden you're the problem. Because think about it. If you're a person in any job profession and you're in management and you desire and love for your butt to be kissed and smooch and everything else, here comes one person that doesn't do it, then they're the problem. Remember, how dare you not kiss my butt? Well, how dare you not get back there? So now it becomes a war which shouldn't be in the first place. I mean, I come from a family of integrity. Go in, clock out, let your work speak for itself. But not everybody subscribes to that, and that's the problem. But over the years, yeah, it's nothing but God, because I ain't that smart.
I beg to differ, but I know I did sometimes. You just ask yourself these questions because people plant a lot of stuff in your head, especially when you're good. Especially when you're good. And you just have to know that for yourself and continue to build on yourself. And one thing I know that you always done is not only have you been good, but you develop relationships with people. How important has that been throughout your career and journey?
It's vital to do so. When you look at how we connect with each other, how we find common ground, and sometimes not so common ground, if we're able to have a conversation and meet at the table, or dare I say even break bread, depending on the circumstances, we can learn from each other. That's if you allow yourself to learn. And you have to be open-minded. You just can't say, well, I know everything, put your hands on your hips like Superman. That's not how this goes. The journey is to continue to learn. The journey, as I see it for me, is to continue not only now to be one of the elders, but still be the student of life. So you wear both hats.
Well, it's like we definitely do, because with my daughter, she's like her brother, she's a pretty smart kid, and I just signed for this job. It was 100 plus, and I just signed the contract, and this is in May. I go out in June and say, so how's the job? She looks at me, oh, they fired me. And I'll be like, huh? And she's like, yeah, this little Asian dude came in, everybody coming to me because I know the answers and stuff, and he felt threatened, so they fired me. I said, and I'm finna go off. And she goes, but Dad, then they offered to pay me $2,500. I said, how they fire you and offered to give you some money? And she said, aha. Well, after she had talked to one of her friends here who was a state's attorney and stuff, she said, all right, but y'all need to give me 9. And she got 6. and had 22 interviews. Decided to take one of the jobs that was having a convention here
Mhm.
in 3 months. I mean, in 3 weeks, and they was going to see me here in Chicago in August or September, and la di da, much different world.
Yeah.
So I have to study and learn their life too, because it's a much different place, Chris, and not an uncomfortable place, but much different. How you handle that, buddy? Talking to people all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't talk to everybody. You can try. The ones you can have a conversation with, you can, and the ones you can't, hey man, you got to move on and on to the next one. I think that if we take time out to just be respectable towards each other and not this meanness, this evilness that goes around that taps to a lot of people's dead hearts, I think it's sad because it gets in the way of progress when it comes to us as a people. But sometimes, best laid plans of mice and men, as John Steinbeck once wrote for Mice and Men. You have these plans laid and your mindset is intact. Now everybody's going to subscribe to it. And the thing about it is, I think that if people wanted to, they had no problem having a conversation. But for some reason, whether it's racism, classism, ageism, just being stupid, there's a way to do it if you allow yourself to. And for me, over the years, communicating with people, just recently, this past Sunday, I was asked to speak at Greater Love Missionary Baptist Church on the West Side, and I spoke when we talked about Black history, and it was my first time in front of an audience and a congregation in years. But you know how it is; you pick up where you left off at.
Right.
And I was talking to them about Black history, that we as Black people are black walking Black history.
Our story.
Hey, don't let anybody point a finger in your face and say that you are inferior, because you are not. You come from kings and queens. Don't let anybody define the society define who you are. You know who you are. Tap into your inner greatness and things of that nature. So I also talk about mentoring as well. So I was very well received. It was a blessing to be there. They gave me a certificate for my dedication of being in radio for 30 years of communications. That was a nice surprise. So man, it was beautiful. It was nice. So when things like that happen, you know that it was for naught. Because many times sitting here in front, I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit radio. I wanted to quit the whole thing, because the results were not coming the way I wanted to come. But see, that was out of my control. It's not my plan. I may have a plan, but it's God's plan. So once I started to back up and realize, no, you got more work to do, stick with it, and now you see the fruits of your labor. It may not be all financial, just the fact that how you touch people's lives and what you mean to them, that's the benefit. That's the fruit of your labor. That's all the years of 30 years being in this game. Because like you said before, now being the elder statesman, now people gravitate to what I say, and from the standpoint of giving advice is concerned and being a part of the program, which I do, Baseline with Chris Bass, talk show I do on social media, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So once you understand the plan, everything falls into place.
Well, too, it's the effort, the work that you've done, how you conducted yourself walking through this journey, that now, as you say, you could see the fruit of your efforts. When you started to see that, Chris, how did you feel about seeing Chris Bass hung out in front of your face?
It's funny, when I first joined the union you joined is AFTRA, American Federation of Television Radio Artists, and you create, because sometimes if your name is taken, you can't use that name.
Right.
So, for example, the actor Michael Douglas, Kirk Douglas' son.
Right.
Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
They had to change it, of course, to Michael Keaton. So when I created the name, I had to have something to go along with it. It had to have some meaning to it. And that's where your work comes in. So when people hear my name, Chris Bass, what does it entail to them? I always said
Right.
So it goes
Right.
back to what you put into it. So the name would mean something. Just like any other name, you have pride, you put in sweat equity into it. So when people hear your name, oh, I know who he is. I know who she is. Oh, I don't like that. You know, that type of thing. Whatever reaction you get is what the person reacts towards. So that was one of the main things I wanted to concentrate on outside of creating the show and being a good talk show host. So the name meant a lot. And hopefully, as I said before in the beginning stages, that down the road, the name will mean something. And you just have to, once again, put in hard work. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens in time.
It doesn't. And allowing the work to speak for itself is a philosophy of mine. And I know that, you know, for a while, you know, when I would hear people, they would think I was that, say I was that, this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. And a lot of it good. And I was like, whoa, can I really ever stand up to, you know, how they look and how they feel sometimes? Because some people really like me, Chris. And
hey, same here. I'm still in shock.
I know it's amazing, but one day I realized that I'm that to them just by showing up. This is the way that all of those, they look at me. I don't have to necessarily in my mind or in my head have to try and be all those things. I'm already all those things to the people. Just like you're a lot of things to the people. And the one to quit stuff that you said a little while ago, about the third time you wanted to quit, me and you sat down and talked for a minute.
Yeah, I wanted to quit so many times. I should have $5 every time I wanted to quit. I have my own personal island. That's how many times I wanted to quit. And then, of course, when you get fired, in my situation, you know, fired from radio stations. And so, like for me, the first one always hurts. The first one is like that stings the most. But then it becomes part of the business. I ain't gonna keep you or let you go. Reverend Bob, I got to the point when I knew I was gonna be fired the next time. Like say about 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Hey, man, come and talk to you about stuff. Come on in, Chris. Oh, you're gonna fire me. Hey, man, how did you know? Like, it ain't no secret, man. Just I've been around for a while. I know how this plays out. Right. So
because it's a ruthless business. Because sometimes they'll put your stuff downstairs in the lobby when you come to work. Dude say, here's your stuff.
Give you the perp walk, you know, get your stuff and get the entire hell out of here. No, they give you the perp walk and everything. So no, Doc, no, you're absolutely correct. It is cutthroat. I know people sell their mama down the road for a couple of dollars, you know, just to get on top. And so that's the sad thing about it when you look at these other people who are shortcutting, who are lying, the backstabbing, the whole thing. I don't operate like that. But when I see people operate that, because to me, first of all, it shows you how much of a punk you are. Second of all,
always
just punk. Then second of all, because of your punkness, you can't get it a legit way. You gotta go around the back door and get it the side way or make side deals or things of that nature.
That's our parents' fault. They raised us with some morals and scruples, and we could stand on some stuff. And if it's some stuff that came in front of us, we gonna deal with it. Because you're going to look at me and see that I practiced, that I did everything I was supposed to do to be where I am. And that's how we grew up, Chris. In church. I know you. You little church boy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, shoot. I was telling somebody the other day, I used to be in church 3 days a week. I'd be there Friday nights for Youth in Action.
Right.
And then I sung in the children's choir, Saturday morning practice. And then Sunday for service. So then on Sunday, it varies. So every fourth Sunday, the children's choir that I was a part of, we would sing. I was also a junior acolyte. I was an acolyte and a junior deacon. So yeah, we both of us, man, we were very active in our formative years and things like that to lay the groundwork for who we are down the road. And that's for everybody that has some sort of spiritual foundation to go from. So like anything else, when you tap back to who you are versus who you were versus who you are now, you should be able to look back and say, I'm not the person I used to be. You should be able to do that. You're the same person, then you're stuck in the same wheelhouse, just like a rodent or
I call it the cage, the hamster wheel,
hamster in the
man.
wheel. Right, exactly.
Because you get on there and you can't get off, and when you do get off, you're like, okay, where am I? But
Exactly.
you've done that. People do that for so many times, because I tell them you're doing the same things. You're getting the same lump on your head, just a bigger one. And
That's
the
right.
reason you're getting a bigger one is you are accomplishing what you said you're going to do. You're going to do it bigger and better and brighter and shinier instead of stop doing it. That's not working for you. And it'd be kind of like the tribulation, man, but we got to get over that and kind of like slip and slide to the left fluidly so we don't get jammed up.
Exactly. You can easily get jammed up, but again, like you just said, if you just maneuver and find a rhythm of what you're going through, you have to maneuver through life. I mean, that's as the youngsters say, life be lifing. So you just got to make it do what it do. But I think also we take into consideration the fact that if you're still standing, if you have all what you've gone through, all hell on earth, all the people you went through and everything else, and the people that you had to excommunicate out of your life because they were toxic for you, you're able to move forward. If you're still standing right now, as the young folks say, standing on business. If you're standing on business and you're still here, as a testimony to the God in you, the testimony to who you are right now.
And we always give a testimony to those who have walked with us through. I was in Atlanta, went by Barbara King's church, and my friend Jack has the church now. So we in the back getting ready to pray, man. And my boy Robert walked in, who was there for me during the dark night of the soul of my life. Man, I grabbed that man, started crying. People was looking at me, man. I ain't care. I just wet up his shoulder, man. I couldn't help it, Chris, because he meant that much to me. The relationship that I built with him when I was having a struggle time, and him and Coach made his transition, but they was there for me, and that's how we did it. Growing up, I was talking with my boys one time. They come over, mommies didn't know I was in Chicago, and we was walking down the street, and he looked at me and said, "Bobby, the only mistake I ever made in life was treating people like I treated us, like we grew up, and thinking that everybody grew up that way, looking out for each other and stuff." He said, "Bobby, it's not. It's not." And we made it through, Chris, like you said. But as we come to the end of this day of our journey, my journey with my favorite guys, Chris Bass, give us a little something for the people that, sometimes look for something to just hold on to and make it through. If it's just till the morning, give the people a little bit of something, Chris, and then I coax you into coming back and doing this again.
Well, I'm already coming back. Don't worry about that. That's already done. And thank you, Reverend Bobby. You're one of my favorite brothers as well. Real talk. The thing about what we all go through is never perfect, because never a perfect anything. The only thing perfect is the Lord. And so we must understand that. And for those people on earth who try to be godlike, you're not doing yourself justice or anybody around you justice. Concentrate on you. First of all, find out who you are, and then go from there. There's a scene from Malcolm X when he's in prison, and the character Baines gives him the cinnamon and the water so he can stir it up to get the monkey off his back. Have a reason to talk to people, because in that scene, it was like, how come you gave me this? Because you wouldn't talk to me if I didn't give it to you. Right. So find a reason to talk to people. Just call them up, tell them you love them, because we're living in strange days, my brothers and sisters. We need each other. If any time we need to really hold on tight, despite our differences, it's right now. We need to have a regathering and a re-understanding and a mission statement, because tougher times. You think it's tough now? It's not even scratching the surface yet with the terrain of what's going on in the universe right now in our country and beyond. The one thing that my Auntie Lane, God rest her soul, told me and had a maxim of life: it's not the length of time you live, but how well you live that length of time.
Man, it's funny how the mature people that grew us up all sound alike. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Brother Chris Bass and people. Thank you coming here for the journey. And from myself and from Brother Chris, we would like for you to journey well. Talk to you soon. God bless.